All right, Justin, this is the busiest week of the year for you and probably the busiest day of the year for you as well. It was made even busier by one Ryan Wingo. It's official now. We don't have to stress anymore, but my God, what have the last like 6 hours been like for you trying to track this whole Ryan Wingo story?
Well, if you tuned in at Inside Texas, you saw my note last night. There was no worry about Ryan Wingo, and then this morning I was actually talking to his dad, and there was some stuff that started coming out about how his letter of intent had, and this was earlier. This was probably about 8:30 this morning. Some whispers about Missouri making a late push, and I said, Mr. Wingo, what's going on, man? And he said, what? Ryan's asleep. I said, okay, that sounds like a typical, 18-year-old that's out of school right now over the Christmas holiday. And he's already graduated, matter of fact. So let that man sleep. Went ahead and slept till noon like a real one. But ultimately, it was always Texas. Nothing changed. Nothing changed last night. Nothing changed this morning. And nothing changed when he signed earlier today. It was always going to be Texas ever since, even before the commitment, it was always going to be Texas. And so a kid can't even sleep in anymore without people freaking out about his national letter of intent on this glorious National Signing Day.
Justin, you guys are so good at your jobs now, and you keep people so well informed that even the things that were big surprises back in the day aren't really that big of surprises anymore. I guess there was a little bit of squeezing about Wingo, but ultimately folks felt good that he would end up at Texas. The flip that happened between Texas and Alabama a few minutes ago, not that big of a surprise with what we've known over the last few weeks now. For you, as somebody who has been in this business as long as you have and is used to surprises, is there something surprising that is a surprise to you that happened today or will happen a little bit later today?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say. We always still get surprised. No one's bigger than getting surprised. Brandon Brown, one of the top defensive tackles in the country from 2025, committed to Texas 2 days ago. Out of nowhere. So we can always get surprised, and you got to stay humble, and you got to know that you got to fight for every inch. We weren't surprised with what happened today, simply because we checked in. Because listen, things change. Especially, let me tell you something. You think high school recruiting's crazy? Portal recruiting is like high school recruiting on hard barbiturates, man. Like it is tough. It can be something done, and 10 minutes later, it's not only not done, he's not even going to visit. And then an hour later, he's talking to Lane Kiffin. Like portal recruiting is nuts. And so if there are some, surprises, it's not even that. It's that you just have to stay informed. You have to stay checking in with your sources. You have to stay on stories. If you didn't have some sort of worry about Aaron Hampton flipping to Alabama on signing day, you didn't read the last 3.5 years of Aaron Hampton recruiting news and insider information and reports. I mean, this was his third decommitment in his fourth school. I think him and Jordan Elliott might be related. But no, we can always be surprised. But if you check in with your guys, you realize, hey, this kid is just sleeping in, or hey, this kid feels like he can do a better job in Tuscaloosa, or, this kid right here could commit out of Melbourne, Florida, out of nowhere in the middle of the day. And then out of nowhere, Texas may be in a great spot for that UTSA transfer, Trey Moore, and that could happen at any time. So you got to stay on the ground, and you got to stay grinding, and we have to stay humble.
Absolutely. Well said. Jay Wells, your thoughts on Anthony Smith? You guys have been all over this story at InsideTexas.com. The Texas A&M commit apparently making an announcement tonight, but Aggie fans aren't so sure that it's going to be an announcement that they are going to like. How do you feel about the Longhorns' chances to get that flip today?
You know what, man? This was one that there's a lot of – it's not a big backstory, but – there's been a lot more going on behind the scenes with this recruitment than I think people realize. I give my man Eric Nalin at Inside Texas a lot of credit. He was pretty persistent since September. Like, hey, we need to stay on this guy. There's something here. Jeff Choate and that guy was building a great relationship. We just needed to stay steady. I went and saw him during the playoffs. Man, him and Justin Williams were the two best linebackers I saw in high school this year. Tremendous. Ty Anthony's a 6'1.5", 6'2", 205, 210-pound edge, 4-star. Got a linebacker rather. Got long, good wingspan, big feet, lots of room for growth. Anthony Hill Jr. has been assisting in on this recruitment, and that tells you something. One, about a freshman can come in and play early, and two, you're letting a freshman handle a recruitment. That tells you a lot about Anthony Hill and this culture in Austin. At the end of the day, guys, I think Ty Anthony, it's war on him. Yesterday, him and I caught up yesterday afternoon briefly. He told me, look, I'm ready for this to be over. This process has kind of wore me down. I'm going to be happy when it's over. Then he decides to go at 6:30 in the evening, which, boy, if I was that anxious, I'd probably want it sooner. But that's going to be something everybody can tune into. Be at InsideTexas.com. We're going to have coverage of it as well. I like where Texas sits right now. But there won't be a surprise if he goes with one or the other. It's going to be Texas or Texas A&M. That's how it's going to boil down. And I wouldn't be surprised with either one. Ty Anthony is one of those kids. Once he committed, he really committed. Like, he really bought in. And so it's hard for some of these kids. For some to decommit, it's nothing. For some, it's really tough. It's like they're going against their word. And so I remember when Mike Elko was hired, Ty Anthony liked the hire, a defensive guy coming in there. But Ty Anthony's always told me the same thing. I want to play with an elite defense. I want to play with defense that's elite. A&M has lost a chunk of that elite defense. They had a really good defense they've had over the last few years. Texas, on the other hand, has turned into an incredible defense. PK, tip of the hat. And so I think that has swayed this more than anything.
I don't want to veer too far off path here, Justin, but A&M has lost a lot of guys in the transfer portal over the last couple of weeks, and Evan Stewart entered his name into the transfer portal last night too. Do you think he is a serious target for Texas, and ultimately does he end up in Austin?
Anything can happen, okay? The portal recruiting is fluid, okay? Anything can happen. I just don't see a scenario where Texas and Evan Stewart merge. I don't think that's going to happen. Now, again, anything can happen, especially in the NIL era. Anything's possible. But I wouldn't be shocked if Evan Stewart went back to College Station, to be honest with you. I wouldn't be surprised if this isn't a negotiating type tactic. Listen, Evan's a really smart kid, okay? He is a marketing little guru. He's got over 1 million followers from TikTok to Instagram to Snapchat to Twitter. Evan Stewart knows what he's doing. He's savvy in this department, just as good as he is on the football field. Would he look good in burnt orange opposite Jonte Cook, like back in the day? That would be amazing. But I just realistically, I don't think Texas is in this one right now. That could change. I'm going to keep prefacing that because I've seen stuff. I've seen how things can shift really quick, especially in the last 2 weeks with portal recruiting. It seems this cycle it's different than the past. But Evan Stewart in Texas right now, I don't see a scenario where they get together.
Thank you for clarifying that. Now back to recruiting. This Texas class is a top fiver in the country. Perhaps it's low-hanging fruit, but is Colin Simmons the most important player in this class? And what makes him so special at defensive end?
You'd almost have to say he's the most important because he's the most talented. He comes in the highest rated at the biggest need position, that edge, even though we saw a lot of growth this year in 2023, Ethan Burke and Barron Sorrell and those guys. Colin Simmons, he's a huge get because he's going to have to play pretty early. Now, he's going to get a little bit bigger in the britches, but he knows that. He's ready to work. One of the first things he said after that back-to-back state championship on Saturday night, he told me, we're going to the SEC. I got to get bigger. I got to get stronger. Like, he's got that kind of mindset. And so, yeah, I think you got to give him the credit as being the bell cow. 5 minutes after he committed to Texas during the summer, he was calling recruits. First one he called was Kobe Black. He said, it's your turn. And the truth be known, Kobe Black committed a few weeks after that. It just didn't go public for 6 months. And so, Colin Simmons is important because it's at a need position. But man, they covered some holes in this class. Yeah. I mean, they really did. They added some strong developmental offensive linemen. They added 3 impressive defensive linemen. They could add 1 more before this cycle's done, which ends in February technically. They went nuts in the secondary. I mean, safeties. This team needed athleticism at the safety position big time. Derek Williams, the kid from Jurassic Park, was the only one in that bunch that really had that twitchy, dynamic type play, explosiveness. Here comes Jordan Johnson-Ravel and Xavier Folsame. Like, these guys are incredible. And so Kobe Black on one side, Santana Wilson, that's a kid nobody is talking enough about. Watch his film. Out of Scottsdale, Arizona, Desert Mountain High School, Adrian Phillips' son, former All-Pro NFL safety for the Arizona Cardinals. Santana Wilson is light on his feet. He has got some Samari roll, Malik Muhammad to his game. That kid, it looks like he's been born to play in the secondary. He's tremendous. I don't think people are talking about him enough. This class could end up being number 4, as high as ranked as number 4 when everything is said and done. And so Colin Simmons has a good chunk of the reason to do with that. But really, I think it's this really strong finish and special season Texas put together.
Yeah, Jay Wells, I know we're talking mainly about high school recruiting because it is National Signing Day for high schoolers, but would love to get your thoughts on the 2 transfer additions that Texas has added to this point in the offseason. Andrew Makuba, speaking of the secondary, a guy who should make an impact in this Texas secondary, and also Matthew Golden coming over from Houston to fill a void that could be there at wide receiver, assuming all of Texas's top receivers head off to the NFL. Your thoughts on what the Longhorns are getting with the 2 transfers they brought in?
2 home runs, man. Let me tell you something. Sark is good at the portal. He doesn't take two. He doesn't. Ever since the Jaleel Billingsley and the Jai Hall duo, he hasn't missed on the portal. That's almost 2 years. And he just did it again. Matthew Golden's going to fit into that Xavier Worthy role. He's got similar speed. He's a bigger guy. He's got a bigger body, a bigger catch radius, and also adds dynamic playmaking ability in the kick return game, special teams game. And so Matthew Golden's going to fit in that role. And that's a guy that, you guys follow recruiting. And I know Trey reads Inside Texas. We were talking about Matthew Golden during the recruiting cycle 2 years ago out of Klein Kane about this is a guy you probably need to go get. But I think Texas chose Brennan Thompson instead. So he gets 2 years of nice seasoning and strength conditioning at Houston, becomes all conference. And now he's going to do his thing in Texas in Austin as a junior. I love the Golden pickup. I like the Makuba pickup more, and mainly because Jahdae Barron is gone. This guy is going to the NFL. He's going to be drafted in April, and he is important as T'Vondre Sweat was, not only to the defensive line, but to the defense as a whole. Jahdae Barron is right a notch right underneath him, if not beside him, for how important that guy has been. Makuba can do that. You talk about versatility. This is a kid that can play that star, that nickel spot, but also manning both the field and the boundary safety positions as well. Very smart. I remember this kid during their recruitment. He was always kind of sold on Clemson. It felt like even from early on in his recruitment. But that's a local kid from LBJ. He's got a relationship there with the Texas high school relations coordinator, Jamal Finner, former LBJ head coach. And so Makuba made all the sense in the world. Matthew Golden makes all the sense in the world. And I don't think they're done in the portal. I think they could very well nab a pretty good edge in the near future. And I think they may even still look at receiver and best player available. Stay tuned.
I love that.
All right, Justin, talking about the quarterback position, what do you like about Trey Owens?
Oh, he's 6'5", and you don't know that till you walk up beside him. Like you just don't, sometimes you're a little surprised by that. He's got a good arm. He's got a good arm that has gotten better over the last 12 to 18 months. He's really worked on his craft. He's filling into his frame, essentially. I love him as a quarterback post Arch Manning because I think Trey's a kid that can come in. He's, to me, a legitimate 4-star. He's a kid that can come in, perform, develop, be patient, Instead of if you went and got a big-time 5-star who wouldn't want to play behind Arch Manning, would probably portal after a year because he didn't get the opportunity he thought he might get with Arch Manning there. Trey is more realistic about it, understands there's a role there. There's almost a chain of command, so to speak, of a hierarchy of how things kind of go in that room. And I think Trey is very understanding of that. Not to mention the dude put on a fantastic senior season. He has a chip on his shoulder. Actually, we were texting last night about this. He has a chip on his shoulder. And I told him, if you keep that on your shoulder, you're going to keep proving everybody wrong. The dude beat Katy in a huge playoff game, second or third round. I can't remember. I believe he was the offensive player of the year at the Houston Touchdown Club. That is a giant offer down there for the folks of H-Town. I'm a big Trey Owens fan. On Inside Texas live stream last night, we were talking about underrated guys. It was Santana Wilson for Eric, and for me it was Trey Owens, and we both agreed neither one of those guys are getting the flowers they deserve. Trey Owens, man, he does more recruiting behind the scenes than people realize, and he has more respect from the recruits behind the scenes than people realize.
Jay Wells, we got a listener question from our guy, Jake. I'm not sure if you could see that on the screen, but he wants to know more about some of the early enrollees. It feels like there could be a ridiculously high number of those in this class. And also if any of those guys are able to participate in these bowl practices between now and January 1st.
Yeah, good question, Jake. Yes, they can participate in practice. They'll go out there and they'll go through some of the drills and some of the things. You're not going to see them likely on the field actually hitting, padding up. I'm not sure if they even go that far, but I do know that they can participate. Guys like Parker Livingstone and other guys, that there's a few others that have already arrived and are already participating. There's 15, as I counted last night, Kellner, and I may have to check again. There's 15 early enrollees out of the 20. I guess it's 21 right now, or 22 signees. That's insane.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a sign of the times. And I swear I've said that to Trey when we talk about the signing class every late December for the last 5 or 6 years. I feel like I keep saying it's a sign of the times that these guys are enrolling early. It's no longer a trend. It seems like it's more of the norm. And I know Sark is big on that. He is prevalent on grabbing kids that can enroll early. And it's not just because they're ready to come in and start working and learning, with a heads up. It means they're driven. It means they're self-motivated. They're focused. A lot of guys, they want to stay that last part of their senior year, enjoy themselves, kind of unwind, recover, recharge, and come into college as a junior. Not these guys Sark wants. Sark wants the self-motivated. Sark wants guys that are hungry. Sark wants guys that want to make the other guy tap out. And that's why out of 21, 22 signees today, 15 are going to enroll early. That's the norm at Texas now, and I think players should expect that.
Other than Colin Simmons, Justin, is there a soon-to-be true freshman that you expect to be playing at some point in 2024?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yes. I think I got Rubble's going to ask me something real quick. Come on in because you're about to bug me. Sorry about that. I had a Rubble break.
That's the Bulldog, right?
Yeah, that's the Bulldog. Of course, it's the Bulldog.
There he is.
Rubble. You know when you got a prospect, when you got that dog in him. You got that dog in him. No, who plays early in 2024? I think Colin Simmons will see the field. I think Kobe Black. I think Kobe Black's going to see the field. I think that's a strong possibility, especially with Ryan Watts. If he's going to the league, that boundary spot's going to need to be occupied. And that's one of the sales pitches for Kobe was, hey, look at that spot. We like you in that area at 6'2", 200 pounds. Wouldn't be surprised if Phil Sime, the safety out of McKinney, plays a little bit early. It's going to be interesting what that safety room looks like after the playoffs. I think there could be a few more guys that either portal or potentially go to the NFL. And so I think Phil Sime will probably have to play early. On the offensive side, it's going to be interesting because those wide receivers are going to get an opportunity. Ryan Wingo is going to play. Ryan Wingo will probably be in the rotation. And I think he's going to be ready. That's going to be a fun development to see over the springtime. So, yeah, you're going to have a handful of these guys, but you're not going to have as much as that first and second class. And it's just because the depth at Texas is just strong. I mean, there is competition at every spot, guys. It really is a page, starts pulling a page out of Pete Carroll's playbook. You know, USC was renowned for over-recruiting at every position because Pete Carroll wanted so much competition where it forced the cream to come to the top every time. And now in the portal era, I think Sark has learned how to manage that. And with his time with the Falcons, he's got the NFL underneath in NFL roster management type skills going on. And so to me, I think it's just a smooth running ship that Sark has figured out.
There he is, Justin Wells of Inside Texas, InsideTexas.com, and that Inside Texas YouTube channel. Always great talking with you, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us on the busiest day of the year for you.
Hey, guys, I've missed you. Nothing but love. Holler at me. Let's do it again soon.